and welcome to Electrical Design Tools Power Designer. In this video, I'll give a quick overview of the application. Navigation for the app is on the top left with additional functions on the right. On the home page, I can create or open existing projects and from there set up my project. I can populate the project information and choose from various settings, options, and defaults for equipment sizing, as well as tagging and exporting to Excel and AutoCAD. On the Areas page is where I create and manage areas for the project. All equipment in a project must be assigned to an area and will adopt the properties of that area and will get updated if I make any changes to the area. So for example, in the electrical room, if I want to change this to be NEMA 12, all the equipment in that area is now rated NEMA 12. Down here I have a list of the equipment in that area, and if I select that equipment, I have all the factors that total up its heat loss, and I have the total heat loss for all the equipment in the area here, which is useful for sizing HVAC equipment. On the electrical section, on the list view page, up above I have all the distribution in the project, and down below are my loads. So if I click load list, I get all the loads in the project, and if I select a distribution equipment, I get all the loads connected to it. To add equipment, I can open this window here, and I can populate these fields manually, or if I want to quickly copy a load, I can just click on one and it'll copy all the data here. And all tags must be unique, so if I just add one here, it'll automatically tag it based on my settings in the tagging, automatic tagging. And as you can see, it automatically calculates everything in the network when I add equipment or change sizes. So if I add another one, everything's calculated, and I get a warning here saying that the transformer is overloaded. So if I change the size here, I can see that now my warning is clear. Going back to MCC1, I have different views for the different information that I want to see, and if I want to create a drawing, I can choose from the AutoCAD blocks that I have available to me in my schematics folder, and if I click create drawing, I can choose if I want to create a schematic sheet and a wiring diagram sheet, just one or two sheet schematics, and we'll just create one for now. So I'll go create drawing, and this will create an AutoCAD drawing in the background. I can select multiple and hit create drawing, and it'll create a drawing for whatever I have selected as well. Going over to the single line page, my distribution equipment is on the left, and the root of the tree is the utility. So transformer 1 is fed from the utility, and transformer 2 is fed from the utility. So if I go to MCC1, I can select multiple, and to select I have to select the connection node. So if I just want to select all these, let's say I want to remove the disconnects, I can remove the disconnect, and I want to add local control stations to these two motors. I can add a local control station, and let's say I want to add a VFD as well, just add a VFD. I have the same bulk controls on the list views here, so whatever I have selected, the menu changes. And on the single line, I can also export this to AutoCAD. So if I just click this, it'll export to AutoCAD in the background. And from there, I can go to the panel view page. This is all my distribution panels are listed on the left. And if, let's say I just want more circuits, I just punch in the amount of circuits I want. If I want to add some spare breakers here, let's say I want to make all these spares. An empty space will become a breaker as soon as you set a breaker size. I can also change the poles of the breaker. So if I want a 3-pole breaker, I just select the voltage here, and it'll update itself. If I want to, let's say, make these 3 to be a 2-pole breaker, I make that selection, and they're adjusted automatically. I can also export this to AutoCAD. And while that's working, we'll go check out the cable list. On the left, here I'll just minimize this. On the left, I have a pretty standard cable list, but it's always kept up to date. So if I add equipment, change cable sizes, or change tags elsewhere in the application, this is always up to date in the background. So if I expand this again, this first list here is all the Raceway in my project, and a raceway is created whenever I add distribution equipment for its feeder cables. So when I created switchgear 1, a tray was added for the feeder cables to switchgear 1. Same thing with transformer 3 and transformer 2. And for example, if I want to add cable to transformer 2 and transformer 3, they're both 5 kV transformers. So let's combine the cables into a single tray. So I have this cable selected. I want to add it to this tray. I can just go add here, and now I can see I have both of these cables are in this tray. And if I select this cable, I have this cable is routed through this first tray, and it's also routed in transformer 2's tray. I can also export this to AutoCAD. On the project Raceway, so on this page I have my raceways on the left, and the difference here is that I don't have the clutter of the cable list, and I have more options when creating raceways. Specifically, I can create and modify duct banks. So for example, this duct bank here, let's say I wanted to change this to be a 3x3, and instead of trefoil fill, I want it to be single fill, and I can get away with 75 mil duct here. I can export this to AutoCAD, and if I wanted to add cables, let's say this splitter tray here, I wanted to add all the load cables coming off that splitter, I can just select those cables here, and I can just add them here. And there we go. I can export this to AutoCAD as well. On the quick raceway sizing page, I have a very similar interface. The main difference is that the list of raceways here aren't in the project. This is just a standalone sizing module. So I can create raceways and I can add cables to them. And the options I have are all the cables in the library. So I can choose all the power cables, control cables, and instrument cables that are in the library. Lastly, I have my cable manager where I can create new cable types and modify or add sizes as required. My library browser, I can browse through all the tables in the library. I can make changes to some of the tables in the library, and I can perform various functions with the library as well. I can export everything to AutoCAD, various application settings, account and subscription information here. I can check out an offline license for working without the internet, and I can check in the offline license when I'm done. And if you find any issues with the application or bugs, you can report them here. And lastly, we'll look at the exports. So I exported my lists to Excel, and I have all of them here on each their own tab. And for the AutoCAD exports, here I have the schematic I exported, I have the single line I exported, the distribution panel, the duct bank, and the cable tray. And that concludes the overview of Power Designer. Thank you.